Good morning and welcome to Industry 4.0. I have such an amazing guest for you today. Her name is Wai-yee. She is not only a real estate investor, she's highly educated in stocks trading, very diversified and hedged, and she is a master of passive wealth. Wai-yee, good morning. Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Melissa, thank you for having me today. I'm really excited about what we're gonna, whatever that we're gonna talk about is a lot of fun. Thank you. Yeah.
My pleasure. So from the moment I saw you, Wai-yee, I was very impressed, not only with your intelligence and your knowledge about investing, but you have an amazing dynamic personality. And as as you all know, not everyone starts, with a silver spoon or at the top of the game. So for those who are listening today that don't know anything about you so far, would you mind introducing yourself a little bit deeper for our audience?
Yeah, sure. I'm originally from Singapore, and yes, I grew up poor, broke, like a lot. I'm sure a lot of people in my audience, in your audience, a lot of us know that. And I had the opportunity to really latch on to education, good education in Singapore. And I remember, and I was sharing this story actually on the other interview that I had with JT, and this is something that really sticks with me, and I think it's so important to always remember where we come from. I'm a person of faith, and I think that was one of those God moments where my father, who was an alcoholic, I was 10 years old. He was kind of drunk, and he was just throwing out something to me and saying, I think you just keep yapping the whole time. I don't know what you're going to do with your life. Maybe you should be an attorney. And I was 10 years old at that time. He says, you're arguing with us the whole time. You're talking back, all this debating going on. Yeah, you should think about becoming an attorney. And I thought it was really, really interesting. I mean, 10 years old, somehow that was something that I latched onto, for all the difficult things and tough stuff that was going on in my family. I was really thankful to him for giving me that idea. Mm. And, and so I did. I mean, I just worked towards that. And becoming an attorney was a really good foundation for everything that I'm doing the last 10 years, I would say. Yeah, the last 10 years in real estate. Of course, I was an attorney for 10 years as well. So that's a big part of my career path, yeah, before I had kids and stuff like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I've noticed with any story that we hear, there's sort of two stages. There's the stage of wealth creation, and then there's the scale, maintain, and grow. Mm-hmm. So what role does mindset have in both of those stages of the creation and growth and scaling?
Yeah, I really love your question. There's just so much to go in there. I don't think we can cover it in just a few minutes.
Exactly.
But I love it because it really goes to the core of a lot of this treadmill lifestyle that a lot of people have. I mean, because I started out my professional life as a professional in a profession. So I am, very job oriented. I want to get the job done. I want to do it well. And as a lot of professionals know, people that I know in my circles, as well as many people out there, whether it's dentists, whether attorneys, whether it's accountants. I mean, these people are all really good at doing a job and getting a salary. Yeah, but it takes a complete flip of mindset to get into wealth creation, to jump from the trajectory of just making your money, and wanting to get off that treadmill of just doing the salary and growing that wealth, multiplying whatever that we have. That takes a complete flip in the mindset.
What was the switch for you?
For me personally, this is very personal. For me personally, for me, I study a lot of stuff and learning a lot through the stock market. But right at the very core of who I am, I'm a God person. As in, I my faith is the core of who I am, my faith in God. And so I spent a lot of time for, like, I would say, for when my kids were little, I spent like over 10 years just really studying the Bible. And this is my path. I mean, I'm not saying everybody has to do that, but it just dawned upon me in my studying of the Bible that God really wants his people, sons and daughters, in fact, to have firstly a relationship and to prosper in every part of our lives. And that actually includes wealth. It includes health, and it includes wealth, and health on many levels, whether it is physical, whether it's spiritual. So there are a lot, it's very holistic. Mm-hmm. And when I got that figured out for myself and my family, then something just happened. Like right at the very beginning of the Bible, God talks about expansion, fruitfulness, and multiplication. Mm. That's right in the first chapter of Genesis. Yes. So when I got all of that, I'm like, oh my gosh, have I been missing out all this time? I mean, I've been a Christian for so long, and it never occurred to me that that was exactly the kind of DNA that God wanted to impart in his people, in human beings. That's why we always want to expand, we want to grow, we want to create, So that's... Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the buckle of the Bible Belt. So what you're saying resonates very deep with me. From the time I was 8, going to church camp and learning the Bible and, Bible drills and all of those amazing things, but also growing up in the South and in that dynamic and in a middle class family, there's a stigma in Christianity and religion in general associated with wealth creation and greed. How did you make that transition to understanding and accepting and adopting and then taking action to apply towards wealth creation and multiplication?
Yeah, well, this is a really great question. I just absolutely love it. I mean, I had no idea. This is always so fun when we connect like this, and I believe this is a God thing when we connect like that. I had no idea you grew up in the Bible Belt, and I spent years at a Baptist church, an American Baptist church here in Frankfurt. I mean, I was there for like 11 years, so that's where my Bible drill really going. But, I mean, this is such an important question that the whole... As you and I know, the way to study the Bible is to have it as an entire counsel. Like, that's actually a verse that talks about that we're supposed to look at it in varying contexts, is to look at it as a whole and to see how all the different verses and all the different principles. I don't like to say rules. People think that Bible-based rules. No, the Bible is not about rules. It's about words, abundant words of life that can give people life and a change in the mindset. And really allowing people, that's God's heart, to allow his people to prosper and to do well and to live out the plans of his life. And so it is so true that it is very easy to start being very successful, starting to create wealth, and then to become arrogant and prideful. In fact, God actually mentions it in the Bible. Do not forget, in the book of Deuteronomy, he said, do not forget who's the one that's blessed you. And so understanding that it is God that's blessing the hands that work, our hands. He says it's his promise that he's going to bless the hands that are put to work. You and I, our hands, when we put to work, as his children, he will bless our hands, and therefore we will prosper. And that's first step of believing. But as we prosper, right in the very same passage, God actually reminds his people in the book of Deuteronomy, do not forget who's the one that's blessed you. Do not forget who's the source, who's the source of blessings. He's the source of all blessings. He's the source of everything. I mean, I just see him as, I'm thankful to be able to serve God. And God is, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, as you know, right? And so I don't really want to go into preaching, but this is how it shaped me, to have that balance, to understand that I am serving my King, who is Jesus. And his title, and this is one of my own teaching as well in the Christian area, his title is the serving King. Mm-hmm. So if Jesus is the serving King, it simply means that we lead through service. Mm-hmm.
And I
serve through becoming a leader as well. Yeah.
And the servant heart and the service minded. I come from a background. I was an English professor. I actually am a technical writer and a patent writer. I have a free ride to law school if I ever make time to put that into my belt. But I've taken a little bit of a different path. I'm a co-founder of a technology company. We use wearable technology to use biometric indicators to mitigate risk in the workplace. So we consult industrial companies, oil, military, transportation, aviation, on the viability of their employees and how it not only impacts their wellness and safety, but the safety of others. And how differently do women approach business than men? And there's that idea of that servant heart that makes us have the ability to see things in a different way, but it allows us to thrive greater as well. What would you say on that topic?
Right. You know, I mean, it's really interesting that you're saying that. I haven't really examined how different women are in business compared to men. I mean, my DNA, my type is like, I'm moving. So it's not very different from the way guys do it, actually, you know, and when I see a target, I'm just running full speed towards that. So, you know, but I did realize, like, in terms of investment lately, I've gotten myself knee deep, I don't know, up to right here in 2 tech companies the last couple of months, and I absolutely love it. And these are very, I would say, longer term, indefinite term investments that are more in the startup phase, you know, that has been going on for a few years, but it's still considered startup phase. Yeah, and so they're still trying to build a revenue trajectory and things like that. And I'd love to go a little bit more into the tech as well, you know. But I noticed that that's one area of my investment. This part, this kind of a little bit long term. You have to get behind the vision, and for me personally, I like to be involved in the companies as well. So I was just thinking about this the other day. I was thinking, you know, I have a little bit of my nurturing element coming into my investing now. You know? And I'm thinking, wow, you know, the co-founders, the other founders, I mean, they absolutely also liked it. The pitch was really good for one of these companies. If you don't mind, I'll just say the name. You know, it's called Boon Logic. It's in the area of algorithmic technology, powerful algorithms, that might even work very well with what you're talking about, for instance, because they are able to do very early detection, and that moves into predictive maintenance, and their algorithm is able to detect variants, you know, that might even work with the technology you're talking about in terms of biometrics, reading certain things, and their algorithm will just kind of tweak the reading to a different level. Yeah, we're really going into tech talk right now, but you know, I really was excited when I first heard about the technology. I didn't really get it at first, but but I know, oh wow, you know, when algorithm came out and they were best in class, that really caught my attention. And then now that I am actually an investor as well as a advisor, I'm a strategic advisor to this company, so like a advisory board person, you know, so and I'm really involved with the management team, the leadership, and I feel like I love it, that this is probably my female part of, you know, my mom part of the nurturing, the wanting them to do well, the wanting them to grow, also very biblical. I want the companies that I'm invested in to succeed. And so I see this as more like a female slant to my investing, to women investing. You know, of course, I have my real estate that's more standard and more traditional. Also, you know, my stock trading, all that kind of stuff. That's more like, you know, a little bit more short term. I want to profit out, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but this sort of platforms, that I see that's probably that female slant in it. Yeah.
The other thing that I've noticed, I've been on the tech path for about 7 years now, and when you look around the table, there's not a lot of high level women consultants, advisors, leaders in this particular area, especially when you're talking about algorithm development, when you're talking about safety, when you're talking about industrial applications. there's very few people or women that keep leaning forward and push themselves to that sector. Why do you think that is? Or do you think that the world is shifting and changing now?
Well, I definitely think the world is shifting. Um, Probably because I grew up in Singapore in a really good educational system. I've always been shaped mentally. That's a good part as well of the Singapore educational system, that it's not a matter of gender. You just be really good at what you do. It doesn't matter that the male female gender difference didn't exist in my mind. Of course, as I now that I'm becoming older and I'll think a little bit more introspective. But personally, I think a lot of women, if they just focus on just being the best and just doing well, there's no limit to what they can achieve, and I think a lot of men respond to that.
Yes, I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yes, I'm thankful. I work well with men and women at very high levels. And once you start succeeding, you realize it really is just being very good in what you do and delivering value, like what JT always says as well, and just keeping our word. When you just do what you say you'll do, you just deliver what you say you'll do, and just deliver what you say you're going to do, keep your promises, and people respect that. It doesn't matter which sector. And for tech, I guess it's a matter of interest as well. I do a lot of investing in the stock market relating to the tech sector. Yes, the last few years I've been doing that. I made, most of my money, most of my returns have come from the tech sector, the NASDAQ companies. So I just have an inclination. I guess it's like my nerd part just coming out. It just the techie nerd part from I don't know, just something that attracts me to that. And I'm interested to learn more, and I'll push in more. I'm still an investor of Tesla. Yeah, at the time when I was investing in Amazon when it started, and when it was $1,000 per share. Of course, today it's $3,000. So I invested in Tesla, I think a year back when Elon Musk was just coming out of his kind of like a erratic behavior as CEO at the time, when he was talking about 420, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but then later on he was able to ramp up his production and do really well. And so, basically understanding how there's greater secular trends, and I think women can really get that. I think women can also understand and read trends well as investors as well. So, just understanding all this and getting into all this is huge for me. I absolutely love it, yeah.
To be successful as a man or woman, I think you hit on two very key things. Number one, you've got to have that laser focus on becoming the absolute best you can be in the industry that you're pursuing. But secondly, I think that you have to have that collaborative nature. No one gets there alone, and you have to have that abundance mindset that you've got to forego the fear of missing out. And I've heard you speak about that before. You have to know that there's enough success for everyone, so you don't get into that trap of the ego or the closed offness. You have to be able to be collaborative. That being said, you've done a beautiful job talking about some of your investment hedging. How important is it for an investor to hedge and diversify their portfolio?
Yeah, well, of course, that is something that I would recommend everyone to think about in terms of investing. None of us, as you're talking about being collaborative, I mean, nobody's going to be perfect in just the one thing and make no mistakes. I mean, and I was sharing, in fact, on the other show that I made 100,000 in January, but I lost 40,000 over GameStop. So yeah. I'm talking about euros here. So yeah. That happens. I'm also getting into the excitement of the Reddit trade and the young, stand up, let's just fight against the hedge fund. But it's not true. And there's a role for every of all these things. I was just, getting onto the bandwagon, having a bit of fun, but I can afford to have a bit of fun. But the point that I'm illustrating is clearly everybody makes investment mistakes, right? Or our sense of judgment is not as sharp as people who do this on a 24/7 basis, you know. And so therefore, I mean, last year I had a really good performance on my own trading, which has elements of conservative trading, really just picking really conservative stuff, or, you know, a lot of tech stocks that are very stable as well, like the big tech and all that stuff. And, you know, and at the end of the day, I had about 25% return. Wow. Whereas my wealth manager at really big banks, they've done really well as well, you know, the top banks in the US, and they've managed a fund, one of my funds at 13-14%, which is still really great. It's still great performance, you know. And I feel like I have that comfort of like, okay, you know, I've got other people that are also working for me, you know, they are helping me do the best I can. I can't just put all my eggs in one basket. This is what I tell everybody. That's why I have different types of investment. Yeah, you know, I'm investing in very exciting technology that I'm helping to nurture in a way that, you know, but there's always a risk. I don't think that's going to come to pass, but there's always a risk it might come to zero. And we're talking about 6-figure investments in these companies, you know. And so I've got that kind of angel investing, which is high risk, right? You know, and I have very conservative money market financial instruments, very stable funds as well. I've worked with many different people. I think it's just really important because it gives me a peace of mind. I can, you know, I know, okay, this part of my money is working for me while I'm asleep. They are very, very competent people. They are working, you know, to take care of this nest egg. Yeah, and of course, I'm working my money differently, whether it's through real estate or through trading in the stock market. So all of these put together, you know, I have a very balanced, very diversified portfolio, and that works great for our family. Yeah,
that's amazing. So I'm gonna take a little bit of a turn on this interview. So coming from the startup world myself, on the other end, you're the investor and I'm a founder. What is your advice for founders that are seeking investment partners for seed or Series A level investment? And how would you advise those founders seeking financing to approach and get good money partners for their products?
Yeah, I think what's really important is the original vision and the communication of that.
The story.
Yeah, that's really, really key. That's one. Of course, you have to have an outstanding product that is going to bring revenue and scalability as well.
It's simple, but I can't tell you how many companies that I've worked with that miss that mark. They get focused of the devil's in the details, yes, but if you can't communicate your story, if you can't communicate that passion, if you can't communicate that vision, which you've mentioned Elon Musk a few times. Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, creators, founders, and visionaries like that bring incredible technology to market. And we talk about technology a lot because that's the age we are currently in. Yes. There's so many amazing technologies to invest in, to explore. But I find that you were mentioning going against, kind of like having fun with going against the sort of like the venture capitalists and that method of fundraising. And what's interesting about that is those portfolios or those incubators for companies that are up and coming, they invest in 10, but they're betting that 9 will fail. And so your approach of partnering with the investors that you invest in and helping nurture and grow that, I think that is a beautiful philosophy, rather than putting money in a ton of different technology and say, well, one of them will hit. What would you say on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's also just my personality. I'm not trying to change the world of investing. I think it makes a lot more sense when, as an investor, I've put in 6-figure sums into this company. I have to believe in the vision, yes. Right? Which means the founder side, they have to be able to communicate it well, and they have to be open to coaching and consulting. I mean, that's the best from their own investors who are willing to put in the time and effort to help shape, mold and steer the path towards being profitable. That trajectory of growth, that's really important. And so because there's just so many things at play, as you know, as a founder, as a startup, you have to watch the costs and stuff like this. I mean, one of the things as an investor, this is from the point of investor, I freak out when I hear the burn rate, especially. Of course, it's like, hello, are you stewarding? And this is coming from the Bible point of view. Are you stewarding what we're giving you? We're giving you our heart and money, right, to support your dream because we believe in it. We want to come behind it, and we want to see that succeed and impact and change the world. Yeah, where your tech is going to impact the world, but you gotta be managing this with care. This is something that I believe that, whether the person is a Christian or not, it doesn't matter, but it is a beautiful gift of an idea, a really great idea, that I believe a really creative idea that a founder has. How does that founder steward that idea? That is really key for me. That's really key for me. That brings me to my other investment, which is a real estate crowdfunding platform. For me, I think I was most impressed. I had no idea the level of how would I put it? They have been stewarding what they have for so well. I didn't even realize it. Their burn rate is absolutely amazing. It's like 40,000 a month, which is nothing.
Nothing to back. Mm-hmm.
And they're doing really well. And that is a real marketplace that they have established. It connects smaller project developers with investors all over the world. That's the vision of it. And on top of that, it actually allows people to go in and do and do lending as well as investing. So any person can become a lender and get 78% out of that platform, and that's incredible. So it really is democratization of financial lending, a democratization of real estate on so many different levels. So, I mean, that's another, you see, if you manage to attract strategic investors like that,
yes,
they will become your ambassador, just like I've become an ambassador for the projects that I'm in. Whether it's Boon Logic, whether it's Maxcrowdfunding, I love them. I love what they've been doing, and I will go out there and I will sell the projects that I'm in. And so, if you're able to communicate, founders out there, if you're able to communicate your vision, do the hard work of establishing a great platform, do the hard work of establishing a good foundation, bring a good team together, and start making money, even if it's a little bit. It's not about being profitable right now, but the path to being profitable. That's what people want to see, that trajectory, and how diligent and open the founders team, the leadership team is to guidance and steering and working with investors that are willing to put in the time. A lot of people are not willing. I am, but being able to communicate that'll be a game changer. Yeah.
Well, and you've hit on my strategy as a founder. When we've entertained investment, it had to be the right partner. I was not going to take institutional money just for the sake of institutional money, because I had friends and family monies of people that believed in me. Grandparents, mothers, single moms that entrusted me with their money to get this company to the next level. And when, like you said, when you're stewarding the money and you're building that company and moving to the next level, you're not going to allow yourself to partner with someone that doesn't have the best interest in the company as a whole. So finding the right investor will not only make you more successful, but it will allow the company to achieve its highest success. So you have such great insight, and I love that this is the first time we've actually spoken directly. And on the opposite ends of the spectrum, we have a very similar mindset on how to build and grow, especially in the startup sector. So thank you so much for your insight and your enthusiasm and the expertise that you imparted to our audience today.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to be able to share some of this stuff with you, Melissa. I like you said, it is exactly it. It's looking for that synergy and the alignment, whether it is the investor side, whether it's the founder side, and looking for that ability to come together and complement each other. And that's I believe that's definitely the recipe for success.
Excellent. Well, I, again, really appreciate your time. Please, I'm going to coordinate with you after this to get the link so we can share more to our audience about what you're working in, because both of those platforms or both of those companies are absolutely fascinating. And absolutely, we need to share more of those amazing technologies with the world and get people aware of what opportunities are out there. I think that your curiosity and your passion and your vision and faith, I think all of those have created such an amazing beacon, not only to our immediate network, but I think that the world really needs to be introduced to who you are, what you stand for, and the beautiful things that you're growing and evolving.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Melissa.